Perfect. Okay, so a quick introduction to myself and to Reckitt, for just in case anybody hasn't heard of Reckitt before. So my name is Emma Proctor. I am what they call a formulation associate, which means that I design drug products within the healthcare section of the business. This is something that I've done for 15 years. And a lot of people see me as an expert now, though I will openly admit that I am still learning every single day, despite being 15 years in. Reckitt, for people who don't know, is a multinational, fast-moving consumer goods company who operate in the healthcare, hygiene, and home care sectors, with brands that you might recognize, such as Finish, Vanish, Mr. Sheen, Silip Bang, Dettol, Durex, Veet. Healthcare-wise, we have brands such as Lemsip, Strepsils, Gaviscon, Nurofen. So a huge portfolio, a huge range of different products that we develop and manufacture. I'm based at the Hull site up in East Yorkshire, but we do have sites all across the world, both research and development and manufacturing facilities. And I think we're currently working with around 40,000 colleagues across the globe. So a huge company with lots of potential to move around. But most of our healthcare stuff is done in Hull at our historic site where we started 200 years ago. Today, though, I want to talk about formulation of drug products. So this would be the thing that you go and you buy off the shelf. So not the development of the drug molecule itself, but actually how do we get that into a format that someone can then take. And I'm going to introduce a concept that we use here at Reckitt, which has become a industry standard across pharmaceutical companies, as well as consumer goods companies like ourselves, called quality by design. So just to quickly go into that then, why do we need to design formulations in the first place? And we do have a chat function. I can't really see it, but we do have a chat function. So I just want a few people to just have a think. I'll leave this question with you for a second. Why do we need to design formulations? Let's think about making a cake, first and foremost. Let's start there. So if I asked you to make a cake, what sort of things do you think that we would have to consider? You can write it down for yourself. You could pop it into the chat if you want, or yell at me. I'm happy to do that. But have a quick think. What do we need to know? I want a cake, please. How are we going to go about that? And in case anyone is struggling, here is some lovely inspiration pictures.
Somebody just put in the chat temperature, Emma.
Temperature, yeah. So yeah, temperature comes in a lot of different ways. Temperature that we're going to cook the cake at. What temperature is the cake going to be stored at?
What flavor do you fancy? Cassie is saying.
Yeah, chocolate, always chocolate. Okay. So I'll not leave you lingering too long with this. So sorts of things that we might want to consider with a cake. This is not an exhaustive list, but the flavor, the type. Do we have allergies that we need to consider? What is the occasion? How many servings do we need? Do we need it decorated? Do we need it packing? How much is it going to cost? Is it safe? Are the decorations going to be safe? How long does it need to last? How many cakes? Are biscuits better? There's a debate. Do we need to travel with it? Do we need to provide extra devices such as candles and a serving knife? All different things that we might have to consider. So now take this to comparing a drug product. So again, we've got some inspiration pictures here. So how different do we think that list is going to be for making a cake versus formulating a drug product? Just leave that for a second with you all just to think on it. If you want to give any answers, you can. it's not really all that different. The words change, but a lot of the things are the same. So first of all, format. Well, that's like my question about, are biscuits going to be a better choice? Our dose size. Again, we might want to consider allergies. How accessible is this drug product going to be to everybody? A great point with that is there's an excipient called lactose, which a lot of people may know is a sugar that a lot of people are intolerant to. It's something that is used in tableting quite a lot. But do we want to use it? Because then we're going to stop a lot of people from being able to take our product. Use case, what are people using it for? Pack size, how many doses do we want to put in? Again, things like color, flavoring, and packaging, they might not seem overly critical, but really important to drive things, something we call patient compliance, making sure that people take the product. If it tastes disgusting, you're not going to want to take it. Cost, how safe, effective, and stable the product is. Are we going to do a multi-dose container versus single-dose containers? What does that look like? What is the best format for the drug? Some drugs can't be taken orally. They have to be injected, for example. Where are we going to sell it? Do we need a device? And how can we make sure that it's easy to use? This, again, can become a conversation in its own right, because how do we make sure that people who have mobility issues, for example, can pick up the tablets? Like if they have issues with their hands and grabbing, they need to be able to grab the tablet. How do we make sure that our products are accessible for everybody? So one approach that we could take to development, and this is the way that we used to do it way back in the day, is we'll think of something, we'll test it, it'll work or it'll not work. So we think of something else and we test, and we think of something else and we test, and we go round and round and round and round and round until finally we have an idea that works and we move it to the factory and we launch. But the issue that we have with this format is that we just keep going until something worked, and then we would scale it up and put it out, which means we might not know if other things might have worked that would be better or efficient or more efficacious. So we've now moved to a different format called quality design. So what we want to do, so we'll stop and we'll think right at the beginning. So the whole purpose of quality by design is that we stop and think. There are many quotes across the internet that get attributed to people. So I'm not going to say who people keep saying says this, because I've shown that it hasn't been that person. But the quote that goes around that a lot of people say is like, if I had half an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 28 minutes thinking about the problem and then 2 minutes thinking about the solution. And that's what we like to do with quality by design. So we want to think about it to begin with. So we're going to go through ideation. This is where we'll talk to all of our key stakeholders in the factory. So people who are formulators, people who are going to test the product, our quality department. We have a regulation department who work with all of the government bodies where we will register the drug product with, to make sure that we know what they are expecting from us and that we deliver it. We'll talk to our factories to make sure that we're manufacturing something that they can make, because that would really be a mistake if we manufacture something and it's like, can't make that. We'll do our risk assessments up front. We'll do our research now, and we do all of this communication in this point. So we do a lot of thinking before we start. From there, we'll do our experiments using a design of experiments format, something I won't be going into today, unfortunately, because we don't have time. But we'll perform our experiments with a clearly defined hypothesis rather than a, I wonder if that'll work sort of approach. We will review data regularly to predict performance. So we'll go back, have a look, and then we'll try and guess what our results will be. If we can guess our results, then that means that we have a good, strong model and we understand what is going on. And we can use that then to refine our experiments further. Once we've done that and we've got a process that we are happy with, we'll define that process. We'll set the control parameters. So that will be things like making sure that we know how fast we can mix or how long to mix for, so that we don't overmix or undermix products, that sort of thing. We'll test its robustness so that if, for example, we manufacture on a cold day and then manufacture on a hot day, are we going to still get the same product? And then we'll transfer that process into the factory ready for manufacturing for the consumers to get a product to buy. So we're going to go through the first two steps of our process for this, which for me are the two most important steps, which happen in that first sort of ideation stage. So first thing we do is we develop what we call our quality target product profile, or QTPP. This can cover all of these areas. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just the more common big hitters that we get. So what dosage form do we want will be in this, along with the format. So that would be liquid, tablet, powder blend, the active dose, the shape, size and volume we want, and any color or flavors that we want. We'll look at regulatory requirements. One that always comes up is uniformity of dose, making sure we get the same dose every time. And any microbiology testing. These will always happen no matter what you're manufacturing, and then there'll be some specific ones developing specific to your specific product. Stability, making sure it's stable in whatever market you put it in. Any marketing requirements, so if they have any speed claims that they're after, or efficacy claims or specific claims for specific symptoms, we'll need to look into that. Our consumer requirements, so making sure that we pick flavors and colors that consumers are going to want, and to ensure treatment compliance, so that they make sure that they will take the course of treatment to the very end. And then our factory requirements to make sure, like I said before, that they are actually able to manufacture the product. So let's go back to the wedding cake. So we've got a few more instructions now on what we want. So a chocolate cake flavored with chocolate ganache, 200 people. The venue is a drive away, an hour, 1 hour drive away. It's in August, and we're going to have some white crystals and dusty pink and cream flowers to make up all the decorations. So this is what a QTTP, sorry, that's a QTPP, should look like for this. So we'd want a sponge with a firm, dense texture so that it can withstand the travel and the weight of stacking the cakes. We know that it's chocolate. We know we want 200 servings. And the decorations will need to be non-toxic, real flowers, and edible. And then you'll see that we've got all of our justifications there as to why we want that. If we then take this to a real life product, so a cold and flu hot drink, we've been asked to make a hot drink, lemon and honey flavored. The pack needs to contain enough product for 2 days treatment. The actives are paracetamol and phenylephrine, and the product needs to be stable for at least 2 years, and the main market will be in the UK. This is what the product profile would look like for us there. So you'll see we've got all of that information in there, along with the justification. So we've got the active content, how much of that active we're actually going to put in there. We've got a few extra bits there on like solubility. We've said that it's a hot drink that needs to be made into a drink. It needs to be soluble then. So yeah. So once you've got all of your product profile, we then have to then decide what is actually critical. So critical quality attributes. So not everything on that list that I've just shown is going to be critical. It might be tempting to say that it's critical. Well, we've said that we want a lemon and honey flavor, so we're not going to be able to do a apple and cinnamon one, for example. But that wouldn't actually be critical in this case, because a QTPP only becomes a CQA, a quality critical attribute, if it affects the quality, the efficacy, the safety, and the compliance of that product. We still want to pay attention to the other attributes, like the flavor, but they wouldn't be deemed critical to the final product. So, wedding cake again, only one critical attribute. So we put all of our attributes from the QTP into our table, and we say, is it a CQA? So things like the type, the color, the odor, the size. None of those are CQAs. We need to still do them because they're a requirement of the brief, but they're not critical. The only part of the cake was that the decorations were non-toxic so that we can ensure that they are safe for human consumption. If we then take this to our cold and flu drink, it's a very similar thing. So the fact that it's a powder, not critical, even though that was what was asked for. Flavor, not critical. What is critical, however, is that it's a free-flowing powder. This is a requirement from the factory because that's what they need in order for us to be able to pack and to ensure that every dose is exactly the same. It needs to be soluble. This is critical for safety and efficacy because if not everything is dissolved into the solution, you won't be taking all of the drug. And then we have identification. So these will be to do with the testing of the drug product to make sure that the active ingredients in there. So all of those are also critical because that means that we know that we have the correct amount of drug product in there. We're not underdosing, overdosing, and we're making sure that you get the same dose every single time. So,
perfect, Emma. Is that the concluding slide? Sorry, I'm just aware of the time. We've got the next speaker.
Yes, this is my last slide.
Perfect.
Yes. So, to bring it to its conclusion, quality by design helps us get it right first time. This is why we do it. It allows you to plan for what you need to do from the beginning. It allows you to align the project plans. It gets you those conversations with the other teams very early on so that you can make sure that you are not going to manufacture something that isn't suitable. And it helps you think about any issues before they occur so that you can solve them and build it into the design of the drug product. So yes, that is quality design. Whistle stop tour there, but I hope you found it interesting.